Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Thanks for taking the time to join us for this webinar, Why AI Alone Can't Fix Your CX. My name is Selva, and I'll be your host for the session. Now, why this particular topic? Now, there's a misconception that AI is like the magic wand that solves all of your CX issues. And yeah, that doesn't really work that way. We've got, we'll have to have journey and contextual data aligned with your AI. Only then you can actually see it work well. And that's exactly what we're going to cover during this webinar. And with that, few house rules. All participants are going to be muted. Only the speakers are allowed to talk. But if you have any questions during the session, please feel free to include those in the chat window, and we'll have your questions answered at the end of the session. This is a recorded session. You will have a copy of the webinar recording in a day or two. Yeah. With that, I'll get to introducing our wonderful speakers here. It's my pleasure to introduce Bruce Eidsvik. He's the Chief Growth Officer at Servion, and he oversees the marketing and sales development at Servion. He's got over 25 years of experience, CX experience, and has held senior positions in Genesis. He, in fact, co-founded Voice Genie and has also spent some time with OpenText. And he's worked across the globe, Toronto, Paris, Singapore, and San Francisco. Bruce, did I miss out anything?
No, that's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've got Mike Renson, who's the co-founder of Incuba. Mike is a serial entrepreneur, an entrepreneur almost from his mid-20s, and he's founded two companies prior to Incuba. And he's very passionate about CX and AI-powered technologies. Welcome, Mike. And the last, Trent is our solutions engineer with Palova. Trent has got over a decade of experience with AI-powered solutions and solutions consulting, and he's worked with leading companies including Gartner, NICE, and Blue Economy. And with that, let's get started. Bruce, all yours.
Thanks a lot, Salva. Yeah, as I mentioned, looking forward to this. I think just a quick couple of words about Servion. We've been in the systems integration space for the last 30 years, and we only do customer experience and customer service. We believe strongly in our ethos that it is the connection, and today will be a really interesting example, but the connection of sort of the agentic AI agent or AI-powered experience along with the human connection. And so the combination of those really provides, I think, what we hope is a much better outcome for our clients' customers. So both. Today we'll be a little bit more focused on the agentic component, and we deliver this all through a framework called JourneyWorks. I'll talk to a little bit more about that. But 600 deployments and some really, really awesome customers we're very, very privileged to have. But I think what we bring specifically is this ability to look at the technology space, curate it, and deal with this paradox of choice, which is today overwhelming in the CX space. I had a slide on the last presentation. There's sort of 650 vendors in this space. So making sense of it, and what we're excited about is to bring two of the best here together today. We'll go to the next slide. I can do that. Yeah, so just really quickly by the numbers. As I mentioned, 30 years, over 200 customers, 600 deployments. So we know our stuff. Even though I think NPS is a trailing indicator, it's still really important to let people know how you're doing, and we do well there. High retention rate. And the number I'm actually most proud of is a tenure. Like the Servion team, average tenure is over 8 years. So I have a ways to go in my journey, and so I'm excited about that. But just to set the table, we got a good team here that really knows this space in depth. And I'll keep on forgetting that I need to move the slides forward. So on to the JourneyWorks go-to-market strategy and offer. It is our CX execution framework. And what I think is really important is that we take it to first principles in that we want to deliver positive outcomes for our clients and for their customers. That's where we start. What is the pain or need? Where is the pain or need felt by the customer? And we feel strongly that this starts with understanding the journey that our clients' customers are actually on. And you'll see this is a great example. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it's called a Sankey diagram. And it shows the various patterns. And I think Mike will show you this even in greater detail. So knowing where your customer is going and where they're falling off and how you can nudge them back onto a happy path is really how we believe we can help our clients serve their customers in a better way. So you can see how, by understanding that journey, we can nudge a journey, and maybe it's a limited time offer, maybe it's pulling them into a contact center where they get better support. But that idea of understanding this framework to me is critically important. Now, what Trent and Mike will be talking about today is what I feel is even more exciting. I'm calling it the last frontier of CX. It's probably not true, but I do think it is really going to change the landscape, because we're going to start to be able to help customers in the moment at that point where they're really struggling, rather than delivering an NPS score at the end to know that they're either a detractor or a promoter, or for most, just a quiet leaver that you really don't know what happened. So we're calling it Servion Journey Adaptive AI. And it's a combination of best practices from Mike and Incuba and Trent and Parloa. And we believe it's the world's first journey-aware, behaviorally adaptive AI that uses the real-time customer signals to intervene, guide, and rescue moments that matter. So that will help increase completion rates, reduce churn, and changing outcomes in the moment. So the best way I think of thinking about this is, imagine having the very best agent with the best intentions, with all the context of the communications that happened beforehand on their very best day, and then being able to scale that. This is really revolutionary, I think. And having set that extremely high bar, I'll pass the baton over to Mike to explain, and Trent, how this is actually being executed, and you'll see it in action.
Great. Thanks, Bruce. So when I start out with describing anything, I like to first dig a little bit into, well, what problem are we solving? And just like human agents, to deliver a great customer experience, AI agents need context to deliver great CX. So let's dig into that a little bit, because the word context is going to come up quite a bit. So it's often spoken about colloquially, context and in human conversations, but let's take a look at something called the encounter anatomy, which describes what context really means if you break it down. And in order for human beings to get a sense of empathy, to say that it was a great experience, there needs to be a sense of who that particular customer is, when a problem occurred, where that problem occurred, why the person is calling, or what their particular context is. And then there's capability from the organization, and that is what the organization can do about it. So what is the set of possible responses to that, and how that particular experience will play out. So here's just a really short example. I need my car delivered. Well, who's it? It's me. When? I need it this Friday. Where? Well, please bring it to my office address. Why? Well, I need it for the weekend. And what and how is the way that that bank can deliver that particular service or that outcome. This all looks really easy and simple, and there's a concept called the hypergraph and the encounter anatomy that were described in a really good paper that describe this model. But if we take a look at how things play out in real life, journeys and context are made up of multiple of these encounter anatomies that are strung together. So a really good example is you order a credit card and it's meant to be couriered to your home, and the bank thinks that you're going to pick it up from the bank branch, and then you phone the contact center and you have to explain that you spoke to someone who said this, and you've got to give the whole backstory. And these backstories create these particular paths, and these paths are different for each person. And if there isn't context, or context is forgotten, human beings tend to get really upset and frustrated. So I've shared what we're trying to get to, but why is this such a difficult problem to solve? And this slide here really illustrates that this is a migration journey. It's a one from a customer that we've been working with. You can see at the start, there are nearly 90,000 customers, and at the end over here, only 44,000 of them had migrated, and 45,000 hadn't migrated. Now, every single one of these thin gray lines here is a journey that at least one customer went on, but the thickness of the line illustrates how many people actually went on their journey. So what I call the journeys we would love our customers to go on, and those are the happy journeys. And then there's reality, the journeys that customers really do go on, and we can see the myriad of options that they take as they move through customer engagements, contact centers, support tickets, bots, migrations and upgrade offers, and so on. First thing that we do on the Incuba platform is we're able to simplify this view. So we take all of the data in from those different sources, we sequence it, we timestamp it, and we generate these beautiful diagrams. And we can then use a slider to say, well, I want to see the top 40 paths, or what percentage I want to see that where top 50% of the customers are going. And we break it down. So if we want to see who didn't migrate, we can see it. It's in this orange loop, and the gray loop is the customers that did migrate. And we can see a cohort here, which is an interesting cohort in this case. As it happens in this particular use case, that group of customers were new customers who hadn't been with this organization for a full year. And mistakenly, the migration campaign wasn't sent to them. It was an oversight. And this was spotted literally within seconds. So when we take a look at the number of journeys, we ask ourselves, well, that's one example, but how many journeys are we really looking at? And that's illustrated in this graph over here. If we take a look at the unique journey paths, this is not a particularly complex journey. It's the kind of thing that we would typically see. And 50%, to get to 50% of customers, we need to track 225 unique journey paths. And even if we just see this drop off, which is probably around 25%, that's 40 journey paths that we have to actively manage to get that result. So I'm sharing this with the audience because this is what our journeys really look like. And I always marvel when I go into an office and all the sticky notes on the board and the analysts and the consultants all working together and saying, well, our customers are going to follow this particular journey path. And I kind of smile inwards and I go, well, sure, they're going to follow their journey path because customers tend to do their own things. So with that knowledge, how do we solve for this particular problem? And we found a solution that's incredibly powerful and incredibly simple and actually really quick to implement. But we understand exactly who is going along which of these journey paths, and we understand where they idle and where they drop off, and we understand the reasons why. So instead of the big NPS question at the end, we continuously communicating. Instead of saying, well, rate us, we say, well, we see you dropped off at this point, tell us why. And when they tell us why, we get more information. We'll say, okay, no worries, we're going to help you along this particular journey. And we develop these messages and we develop them dynamically to nudge people as they move along the journey. And you can see these paths. This was to get these customers to the website login. That was the mission. And then once they had logged in, we wanted them to take an action. And then after that, we wanted them to complete a survey. But we can get feedback anytime we want. Now, that's one journey path, but there are lots of journey paths. I'm just showing 3 here to get the customer to the goal, but there's probably at least 40 or 50 journey paths in this particular on this particular screen. What it turns out is that this method of nudging customers is incredibly effective, and we can see that in these analytics here. So what we did, we split it out into a contact group and a non-contact group just to be able to A/B test to see what the difference is. In the contact group, 49% of customers got to the end goal and 32% didn't make it there. In the non-contact group, we see 29% made it to the end goal, and only 68% didn't, and that's the same journey. What we've discovered running literally thousands of these journeys now is that the silver bullet to get customers to the end of their journeys, to their goals, is excellent signage. The same way as if you're walking through an airport that's a vast airport or not a really well-designed airport, if there's very clever signage, people tend to get where they're going to without getting lost. The catch, though, is that customers are very sensitive to these particular messages. They want to be spoken to in the right way, with the right empathy, even based on whether they're Gen Zs or Gen Xs or millennials. The tone and how we talk to them makes a huge difference. So the technique that we've been using to get people to the end of these journeys and get anywhere from a 30% increase in journey conversion to 120% increase in journey conversion is breaking down all of the personas that move along the journey, all the different journeys, all the journey types, so on. But if you multiply that out, you're going to see that we run out of steam very quickly, which is exactly what is happening within our customer base as they optimize further. And that has led us into developing our context-driven agentic AI. And we're going to demonstrate this today with just the final notice of loss, or FNOL example. And all of us at some point or another have experienced an insurance claim, and people will, it depends on your insurer, but often it's lengthy. People get confused. The assessor says they've seen something and then they lose something. Then you're waiting to get the claim authorized. And quite honestly, it's usually just a real pain to get through these things. So think of a scenario where it is instant, where you fall off a journey or documents don't upload, or you're waiting longer than what you anticipated. Instead of just being reactive and you phoning, a system actually contacts you to say, well, we noticed you haven't got past this particular point here and we're waiting. Or if you do phone in, then it's got all of that context about you, not just of this journey, but of every other journey that you've been on with that particular insurer over the past years. I'm going to share this now and show how we solve this problem. So here's a journey. And as I move through this journey, you can see, go back a little bit, that red marker there is the point where my customers fell off the journey. So the first thing I want to see is, I want to see, well, who are these customers? And I can get a view if they have been, if it's, I can choose the specific journey path, choose that option, and then I map out that journey path. So let's say customers that have accepted a quote, and this is still during the quotation stage, not the claim stage. And then they went idle at the point before, and then I track it a little bit before, and I can see that they completed their KYC, and I go back and I choose that path. So they've gone through the whole thing, they've completed their KYC, we sent them a quote and they haven't completed the journey. That's really the essence here. Now, what I've done is I actually click on that journey and I say, well, who are the customers in that journey? And it lists every single customer that has traversed that journey. I can see the list there. And as I move down, I can choose a particular customer. So I've chosen, can't really see the name up there, but this particular customer. And here's the CRM information. This is pulled from the CRM. If I go a little bit further, it shows all the data that we're storing about the journey. Here's every single journey that this customer has been on and or gone through. And we collect every single piece of data and the sequence around it. And if I go further, we can then see every interaction. So what have we sent to them? What campaigns, what documentation, what have they sent back to us? Go a little bit further here and I can see feedback. This is every single bit of feedback, every communication that's come through from them, anything, any verbatim, any sentiment analysis, or any rating. And that takes us all the way to the end of that particular slide. So what are we doing with this information? We take this information and we collect this information in what we call a journey context pack. So imagine going to your bank or your insurer and you plonk down a whole pack of all the things that you've done with them, exactly what your problem is, any moan that you've had in the past or complaint, and your emotions and all of that thing. And you were able to give that the full case history, not of just the history, but the journey that you've just been on. And you were able to give that to someone super smart. And that person was able to say, well, hello, I know everything about you. I've got deep empathy. I know how you like to be spoken to. I know the channels that you enjoy working on, and I'm going to help you out. So we call this a journey context pack. And this is what we pass through to the agentic AI. So I'm going to just line up the demo that Trent's going to be giving. What I've done here is I've re-engineered, not re-engineered, I just passed it through an LLM, the JSON file that we pass to the LLM. And this is Chloe Mitchell, and it's just sharing this with me in a human readable form. So Chloe is someone who prefers careful, supported progress through a vehicle insurance acquisition process. She has moderate digital confidence and relies on human help for complex steps such as ID and V. Multiple stalls occurred during her 4-day journey, but she responded well to nudges and contact center support. So for those of us who remembered when our agencies did personas for us and we always laughed that no such person existed, well, this is the very real deal for Chloe. It's exactly who she is, what happened to her along the way in granular detail. And I think that's pretty amazing. Got one for Hannah as well. Hannah is a stronger digital customer, and Trent will be able to share how she gets taken through the agentic AI process. And then there's Grace, who has a slightly different profile. So I'm going to hand over now to Trent, who's we passed these JSON files to Trent and to Pauloa, and he's going to take us through how each of these particular customers is serviced.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. Go ahead and share my screen. So I think to set some important context, right, I'll show you a couple views. But first, just to introduce Parloa out of the gate, just so you understand kind of who Parloa is, what we do as I'm pulling that up. So Parloa is a AI agent management platform that is built around automation in the contact center, but moving beyond your traditional IVRs and IVAs because we are a native agentic platform. So it's really not just about having another AI in your enterprise. It's about being able to scale and manage those AI agents to handle a diverse set of CX tasks. So we are fit for purpose around this mission to connect customers with organizations and have those enriching conversations. So let me just confirm I'm sharing the right screen here. So again, there's a lot that Parloa does under the hood, which I'm not going to make you digest all of these capabilities, but Parloa's AI agent management platform, or AMP, is really centered around the AI agent lifecycle. So the way that you can think about that lifecycle, because again, this is a new frontier, as Bruce mentioned, that we're in with the agentic era, but we've intentionally gone out and modeled that against the human contact center agent, right? So you can think of yourself or a colleague, maybe you've worked in a contact center or know someone who has or advised in that space. Their first day, right? They're not getting on the phone with live customers. They've interviewed, they've granted some level of training, and we're giving them instructions, right, as the organization to make sure they're equipped. So in the same paradigm, Parloa is building AI agents, giving the agent specific instructions. And again, that's where the context layer is key here, where we're not just designing and prompting an AI agent, but we're also integrating with the right level of data so it can be contextually aware on the customer's journey. And then, of course, we're going out and testing, right? Think about that human agent. They have a manager, they have a coach, they're doing some role playing, and Parloa has a framework for simulating and evaluating synthetic conversations that mirror exactly your live dispositions that you have as an enterprise. And then, of course, we can deploy across small volumes, monitor and improve, and eventually do AQM or automated quality management within our workforce management tool set. So there's really this shift happening where Parloa is directly poised to manage the hybrid contact center where you have AI agents alongside human agents. And again, journeys go everywhere you let your customers go, right? Whether it's web, mobile app, or phone. So as the agentic orchestrator, Parloa can place that nudge and direct customers wherever they need to go, whether that's voice, chat, or app. So I will transition here into the JCPs, or the journey context packs, again, that Mike mentioned, where we're consuming these files for these personas. And we'll just highlight a couple here on today's call. First is going to be Chloe, right there in the center, where Mike was alluding to. She's a little bit cautious. You can think of Chloe as maybe your mother, someone in that kind of boomer late 60s era where she's a little bit support dependent. What does that mean? It means she wants to talk to a human. She wants to talk to someone on the phone and explain things step by step. So we'll see that here in a live call in just a second. But again, all of these engagement behaviors and preferences, we are able to ingest from Incuba and understand not just how our AI agents should act, but also what channel, what modality they need to act in. Because as we move from Chloe into Grace, we'll recognize that she is actually more digitally dexterous, right? She's independent. She can self-serve within digital channels. So she doesn't necessarily need that step-by-step walkthrough. She just wants to get unblocked. And even in the voice channel, we get that inbound contact. We can help nudge her in the right direction with the right level of context. So I'm going to pause there, and we will jump into the Parloa platform. And again, I know we're kind of moving fast, but this is an important principle to tune in on, which is just because we have this data feed doesn't mean our AI agent is going to bat 100, right? We have designed this framework again to test and iterate, to simulate these conversations before we go live. So we can run this, and this is Hannah, right? So different profile, but she's a digital pragmatic. We can run this simulation multiple times and kick that off. Well, first we need to select an agent definition. And then we'll actually see these conversations play out in real time within a chat medium. And this is really removing a lot of boundaries where historically you had dedicated teams, dozens of individuals, right, who had to go and QA these conversations within your IVR tree. So that's a thing of the past, right? Because we can synthetically use LLMs to handle this conversation and especially handle the unhappy paths, right? The nuance, the ambiguity that you have within your interactions. So moving from just those simulations, we can then actually evaluate the efficacy of our agent. So this is just one small example of a unit test, let's say, where we want that agent to correctly identify the right stage of the journey, which is essentially just ensuring, hey, is that Incuba data feeding in? Is our AI agent consuming it at the right point in our conversation? Is it queuing off that contextual data? And we can quickly spin up these scenarios and use what we call an AI judge. So this is just another way to power the LLM to analyze the conversational transcripts and see whether or not it was able to complete and pass that criteria. So a lot of power that we have within this interface to address really the number one concern, right? Is AI safe? Does it have the proper guardrails? Can I deploy it compliantly and under the right regulatory frameworks for my organization? And the answer is yes, Parloa is giving you that tool set here. So we're kind of able to see the pass fail instructions here. And this then goes back into how we brief our AI agent, how we're prompting our AI agent within this FNOL journey. So we'll dive into that agent briefing here, where there's a lot of areas we can fine tune. Again, we have the agent's role, the tone, the instructions, all of these are important. But arguably the most important part of this is step 2 here, right? After we authenticate with this inbound caller, we need to invoke that contextual intelligence from the Incuba data layer or context layer. And these are specific fields, right, that we're prompting our AI agent to say, here's the context summary. Here's the engagement style, the cadence nudges, and the posture you need to effectively progress this journey forward to the next stage. So these instructions are a bit of a macro level, and there's also a granular level of how we're building out this skill set with our AI agent and really defining exactly how these interactions should go, right? So I'm going to pause there and we'll actually hear one of these live. We're going to start with our friend Chloe. Again, she's going to be a bit cautious. She's going to want those nudges and the helpful AI agent to take her step by step through the process of submitting her claim. So let's go ahead and give her a call. Or sorry, give our agent a call.
Hi there. My name is Cindy with Kronos Insurance, and I'll be helping you with the claim submission process. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Hey, Cindy. Yeah, this is Chloe Mitchell.
Hi, Chloe. Thanks for reaching out. To help you with your claim, could you please confirm your date of birth?
Yeah, sure. It's March.
Let me see.
Yeah, it's March 24th, 1962.
Hi, Chloe. I see your vehicle claim is in progress, but stalled at the documentation stage. You just need to provide the outstanding documents to move forward. If you'd like, I can guide you step by step through uploading your documents or connect you to a human agent for extra help. Would you prefer to try uploading now, or do you need more support?
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. I mean, let's try it now because I'd love for you to walk me step by step. Sometimes the phone is, a little bit hard to manage with all these apps. I can never figure it out.
Absolutely, Chloe. I'll keep it simple and walk you through each step. First, do you have the documents or photos you need to upload saved on your phone or computer right now? If not, let me know what you're missing and I'll help you get ready.
So I'll kill it there. Obviously, we can go through the entire FNOL claim, each step. But the real power here, hopefully you caught that, is not just instructing this agent on the step-by-step procedural documentation of the claim submission, but it's really how Incuba's contextual layer is able to enrich this conversation and allow for the AI agent to respond to Chloe's needs, right? She wants to be walked through the photo upload step by step. We're giving her the empathy she needs and really meeting her where she is, right? That's a concept that no one would have thought possible for AI a couple of years back, but that's the reality right now, where we can have emotionally rich and deep conversations at the exact juncture that the caller needs it. So let's go through another example here and see a little bit of difference between Chloe and Grace. So again, Grace is a little bit more digitally dexterous, so we'll see how she does.
Hi there. My name is Cindy with Kronos Insurance, and I'll be helping you with the claim submission process. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Hey, yeah, this is Grace Williams.
Hi, Grace. Thanks for reaching out. To help you continue with your claim, could you please confirm your date of birth? This will let me access your journey and guide you from where you left off.
Yeah, sure, no problem. It's January 10th, 1998.
Hi, Grace. I see your vehicle insurance claim is in progress, but stalled at the documentation stage. You just need to upload the outstanding documents to move forward. If you need a quick refresher, make sure your files are clear and match what's requested.
Yeah.
Is there a specific document or upload step you're having trouble with?
Yeah, I think I'm good on the files. I have my photos ready. I just got logged out of the app, so I think that's where I can, if you just help me reset, I can log back in.
Thanks for letting me know, Grace. Since you have your photos ready, you're almost done. To reset and log back in, just open the app or web portal and use the forgot password or reset login option. Once you're back in, you can upload your photos directly to your claim. If you run into any issues logging in, let me know and I'll help further. Are you able to access the reset option now?
Yeah, do you mind just sending me a link? That would be great, and I can reset from there.
I've sent you a text with the login link. Just tap it to reset your password and get back into your claim. Once you're logged in, you can upload your photos and finish the documentation step. Let me know if you need any more help.
Appreciate that. Thanks for your help. All right, so we had kind of another example there where we switched the channel of engagement dynamically, and we're able to change the workflow based on the preference of our persona there with Grace. So again, there's a lot more capabilities we could walk through in terms of not only the data that's enriching these conversations, but also how to integrate across your stack, whether that's your CRM, your CCaaS, which Servion has some pretty in-depth experience doing, so that these journeys can continue and the engagements can be multi-channel, multifaceted, and provide the level of visibility that you need and observability with your customers. But I will pause there and turn it back to Bruce.
Hey, thanks. Thanks both Mike and Trent. Hopefully the power of what you just witnessed came across. But this, I think, Trent, I really like the way you said it, the meeting her where she is, and based on her personality, sort of Chloe, and Grace, and the differences and the kind of interactions they wanted, and the way that it was able to serve that up. I think the other thing that was really powerful is this idea that you can provide so much complexity to the agentic AI agent so that it is responsive to the needs of the client. And Mike, you know this, when we started this journey, one of the first places we thought of delivering these journey packs was to actually train a human agent. And what we found is that it's so much to consume that the human agent wasn't able to, bring that to bear to improve the conversation. So it's the case where agentic AI sort of really can leverage that information and respond to it in real time. And again, there may be an opportunity, at some point that the agentic AI agent will realize that, okay, I really need to bring in a human agent on this one for whatever reason. But this idea of bringing this context to bear on the conversation, and that Parlo is able to consume that and act to it is really, really a groundbreaking. You just see how that make that FNOL procedure, the first notice of loss, so much easier for the client, and apply that to all your different use cases. In that respect, the way sort of you think of the next steps here, and I'm interested, I want to learn more. This is part of the process that Servion brings to bear with JourneyWorks, is like, we'll sit down, first off, if you're interested, in seeing this for yourselves and in your context. I know that both Parlo and Incuba and ourselves would be more than happy to do that. But we want to then investigate where it could be deployed by using Incuba and understanding that journey in detail, and where your customers are really struggling, and then applying, Parlo into that spot and passing that context lock. So that's the purpose of the discovery and launch pad, and the wrap around this entire journey adaptive AI functionality. So I think with that, maybe Selva, if there's any questions that people had, that this seems like a really good time. A lot to absorb, I think, for the first viewing of this journey adaptive AI, which I think is really compelling. Anything out there?
Yeah, there's a few questions that have come in.
Yeah.
At the top of the hour, we'll just take a couple of questions max, and we'll get back personally once we finish off this webinar. The first one is, this is for Incuba. What are the key business results Incuba has delivered? This could be in terms of acquisition or reducing churn. Some examples.
Salva, just to understand the question, what are the key business results? Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So it depends on the kind of journey, if it's an acquisition journey, an onboarding journey, or a servicing journey. For a sales-based journey, we typically get to a 20 to 30% increase in goal conversion, and we're able to do that within 3 months of launch. The time to get to launch, just to build out the journeys, depending on the kind of journeys. If they're digital, that would usually take us around 8 weeks to build. If they're multi-channel, that could take probably between 8 to 16 weeks to build out. But within 3 months of that launch, we've typically hit 20 to 30% increase in journey goal conversion. We've had many instances where with refinement, so the whole way that Incuba works and the Incuba teams work together with our clients is iterative. So we start off with the first visualizations, and then it's a process of continual optimization, and we can take that all the way up to 120%. The greatest I've ever seen is 300%, but that was for one of our banking customers. They started off with a very low conversion base, and we managed to triple that. Servicing journeys, I think that's the metrics are a little bit more complicated because it's not around goal completion or conversion, but it's really around NPS or NPS scores or quality or customer effort. But irrespective of the journey, what we've seen is that the technique works exceptionally well. And it is one of the technologies. I've been in tech for 2.5 decades, where what we promise and what we say, we actually materialize and deliver in the actual ROIs because it works well.
Thanks, Mike. We'll take the last question. So this is for you, Trent. What are the common barriers you typically see while integrating an advanced AI solution like Parloa with legacy CX stacks?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much we could talk about. I think API readiness is a big one, right? You have like .NET applications and legacy stacks that simply do not expose public APIs in a way that AI agents can consume. So there is often middleware involved, right, where we have to manipulate the data, transform it in a way that it's usable for these types of interactions. I think that is actually a good plug for Servion and part of the work that they do with their clients. So it's very much a hand-to-hand partnership, right? We provide agent orchestration, agent skills, and do it in a composable way where you have the voice infrastructure you need, you have the channel deployments you need, and kind of to build once and deploy across experiences. However, we lean on our services partners, especially Servion, to help format the data and make sure the existing tech stacks can feed in the right level of context. So yeah, definitely not a small feat by any means, but that's why we have great partners like Servion to do that.
Yeah. Thanks, Trent. Bruce, do you want to talk about things?
Sure. Yeah. Let me just finish up. Trent and Mike, thanks again. Selva also always being our moderator of choice. But I wanted to touch on one point as well that I'm not sure maybe came through, but re-emphasize is if you think about what we demonstrated today with Parloa and Incuba, it sort of takes away the need for intelligent routing. You can deliver these calls to Parloa using the context of the Journey Adaptive AI and the Journey Packs, and the Parloa agent acts as a super agent. So you think of the complexity of actually the routing, it brings it down. So instead of looking for the right agent with the right skill at the right time with the right skill levels, each of those super agents is personalized to Chloe or to Grace and has that context. So in some sense, using these two bits of very powerful intelligence, we're simplifying, the call flows and the routing of calls. So I just thought I'd put out there because I think that's another really, really interesting sort of benefit if you think of how you operate your contact center. So just to wrap up, because I think we're at time, I wanted to first thank Trent and Mike. That was really, truly fascinating. And we do these series. So Parloa had been on one a month ago, and with another Parloa partner, Dan, that went really well. Mike, it's great to have you here. We'll do more of this in the new year for sure. And then our client success team also is taking a different angle where we want to impart our lessons learned from our 200 plus customers and sort of see those trends where people are struggling and share our best practice to solve that. So in this case, we're going to have actually Rogers, one of our really important customers, on board to help them sort of share how they work with us in the client success model. So That's on December 11th. And then, as you know, Nuance, Microsoft, end of life of their ASR and their TTS. So in January, we'll be talking about strategies to move off those legacy platforms onto a next generation solution, like pretty much just like we laid out. And I think it's an opportunity for customers that haven't started that, or clients that haven't started that journey, to really look, at all the optionalities that's out there. Again, I'll speak to our Discovery Launchpad because, our goal is to help solve issues with outcomes for you and your customers. And so that's where we start. And if we find a place for this tech, then of course we'll bring it to bear. But first is to understand your issues and problems and pains and how we can help address them with whatever technology is out there. But I do think this will be a game changer for you. So I think that's it. Subscribe on our website so you can get the list as they come out. We're going to continue doing this for a long, long time. And I think maybe we'll have you both back in the new year to do this again. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thanks again to Trent and Mike and Selva, partner in crime.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all.